Good morning, everyone. Happy Labor Day. Welcome to Get Your Horns Up, your early morning start to Texas college football. I am joined, as always, by Aaron Little of Orangebloods.com and Nash Talks Texas of, YouTube, Twitter, social media galore. Guys, how are you doing this fine Labor Day morning?
I'm doing good, man. I just watched a lot of football. I'm in my happy place. That's pretty much all it comes down to this time of year.
Nash, you are muted, buddy.
Well, I was just gonna say I'm laboring away over here. We're working hard here. Okay.
JD Hack checks in on the Specs chat line. They say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Is that true? You're damn right, JD. Look at us. We're talking Texas football. How do you not love that? This isn't work.
I woke up easy this morning. My alarm went off. I was like, I'm ready to go. I got takes. I watched a lot of football. This doesn't really feel like work.
No. Let me tell you, covering sports is never work, ever. Yep. And when you're in the press box, they feed you. It's like a double win. So speaking of the Specs chat line, Rodolfo, he beat you all to it, guys. He wins consistently. He's consistently the first one in the chat. The best way to get around that is to make sure you subscribe to the channel yourself. Hit that notification bell. That will tell you when a show is about to start. And then maybe you could beat Rodolfo someday. But right now, he's got scoreboard. And you know what? Speaking of scoreboard, it was a big win for the Longhorns this weekend, guys. What? Just your initial reactions? What do you think?
I mean, there's a lot of places we can go with this. Initial reactions. They got the job done. They were clearly saving some stuff for Alabama, as they should. The defense was great. Interior offensive line, I'm sure we're going to get into that, was not as great. They made adjustments from the first half to the second half, I guess, which was good to see. Maybe Rice just wore down, which is as expected. But, yeah, we got a lot of different stuff we're going to get into. But, a win is a win at the end of the day, I suppose. Nash, what were your Nash, you were at the game. So what were your overall takeaways inside the stadium?
Energy, we were talking about it just a little bit ago. It could, I get it's Rice, but could have been better. Like I said, there were some moments where they threw the decibel meter up on the scoreboard, and it was just like, don't do that. we don't need to see how quiet we are right now. But I will say there was some gusto in the crowd when Malik Murphy entered the game. There was some gusto in the crowd. They were happy to see that for finally in the in the regular season, actually, for once. But it was overall good time. Beaver Boulevard, always a great experience out there. Getting to be around Longhorn fans. I'll say early on the vibes were just like the energy. It was like, okay, football's here, right? We're here, we're back. Let's go. Let's get it done. But yeah, like I said, I thought if we had the slightest of speed bumps in the road versus Rice, it's going to be some moans and groans and some threads on Orangebloods.
Well, you know what, guys? A win is a win, and that's great. And we are about to break down the Rice game in full, but let's not forget the real story of today. Starting today, it's Bama week, right? Yep. Every day this week, we are going to be talking Bama and the Horns, and it is a big, big week for Texas. As soon as that game was over against Rice, Bama week is what it ended up being. John Wayne, the Duke, checking in, saying roll over Tide. There you go, John Wayne. How do you not love this? We got John Wayne in the chat on Labor Day. That's freaking awesome. I thought he was dead, but I'm glad to see he's alive and kicking and throwing those horns up.
A fun fact is I was baptized as John Wayne. The priest, he got it wrong, and my aunt screamed my name.
It seems like one of those references that I'm not gonna have, but I'm just gonna roll along with it.
Wait, you don't know who John Wayne is?
Nah,
you don't know what?
Doesn't ring a bell. That's all right, Travis. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, no.
No, like
no. This
are you
is
thinking about not knowing
than-
John Wayne? Like this is one of the biggest names in names.
you're a part of society, right? Like
Well,
you
who is he? Someone tell me. Someone.
live in a cave.
He's arguably like he was
He's-
Harrison Ford before Harrison Ford is the best way I can ever
Dude.
like describe it.
He's still to this day one of the most famous movie stars of all time.
Yeah, he's like
Okay,
He was
movie
a
star, yeah.
badass.
You're gonna give me a movie stars most of the time. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Oh, you're talking about like I haven't watched the Godfather series, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of comments on the side going like, "What?" Yeah, I don't know how you hadn't heard John, like even heard of the name.
You know
Well,
what?
yeah, I mean, I've heard people say it, but like when you guys start making specific references and stuff, I'm just gonna have to be nodding
It
along.
never piqued your curiosity to Google it at least?
No, that's probably one of the flaws in my game. Like, if I hear something I don't know about, I should probably try to inform myself more often. I just kind of
I mean, you got a
Move along.
phone, right? It connects to the internet.
I
It's
do.
not hard.
no, I do. It's
I'm
true.
on my boomer energy with Travis right now.
Holy shit! I don't even know where to go. You threw me completely off.
Sorry, ESM, Travis. Sorry, change yourself.
Well, I mean, okay, fine.
The QR code's gonna save me. Thank you.
Get yourself a John Wayne signed jersey.
You know what? I bet Brandon could come up with some John Wayne memorabilia to sell you. But for the rest of you who know who the Duke is, and by the way, he played U.S. football for USC. I mean, it was talked about during the 05 championship game. I mean, come on.
How old is he?
Anyway. Oh, he's dead.
He's gone.
He's
He's gone.
But you know, still, anyway, Texas Longhorn gear, if you want it, there's only one place to go. That's Elite Sports Memorabilia. You see the little QR code right there? Just whip out your old phone, Aaron. You can scan it. It will take you right to the site where you can buy everything you want, anything you want. It's all right there. Elite Sports Memorabilia. You know how beautiful his gear is? Just look behind Nash. Look at that beautiful wall of jerseys. He's got jerseys, football, baseball. He's got bats. He's got signed helmets ready to go. He's got back. Hey, Nash.
Funko Pops.
There you go. See, I didn't know what those were. I'll be honest on that one. But
just a little vinyl configuring.
There you go. He's got Funko Pops. He's got everything you want. And I'm telling you guys, honestly, it is incredible gear that you need to get on board with because A, it helps our show. B, it helps the Horns. C, and most importantly, it helps you because you get some cool, badass gear, memorabilia ready to go. Nash talked about Malik Murphy, the buzz in the crowd when Malik came in. Malik is going to be signing. He's agreed to deal with Elite Sports Memorabilia. You can pre-order your Malik Murphy autographed memorabilia now. Scan that QR code, go to the site. You will get your Malik Murphy gear before everyone else, and there's going to be a limited supply. So make sure you get on board Elite Sports Memorabilia. Real quick, guys, before we get back to the show and breaking down Rice, let's check in. Blue Jay, the Creighton alum, checking in. It is always a good feeling on a Monday after a win. It's much better than the alternative. Good morning, Benny. Best way to start the day is by having you guys in the chat. We love it. Thank you so much. And if you want to join the show, by the way, the chat is a perfect way to get there. If you have a question, throw it in the chat line. If you want to make sure it gets answered, do the super chat. I promise you, we will not skip over a super chat. So that's the best way to get your questions answered. Let's talk the Rice game. Yeah. That was a win, right? I mean, nobody came away from that game saying this team is ready to rock and roll for a national championship. But the question that I had this morning is Quinn Ewers good enough to win a championship? Now, look, Quinn statistically had a very good day. 19 of 30, could have been a little better, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. He added another touchdown running the ball, which that was a nice new wrinkle. So, he had a good day. It was the week 1, first game. had some drops, had some misplays that could have made it a fantastic day. Is Quinn good enough now to win a Big 12 championship or make the college football playoffs? Aaron, I'm going to start with you because I think Nash has got some hot takes on this. But what do you think?
Big 12 championship with this team, I still say yes. I'm curious to hear Nash's thoughts and your thoughts too, Travis, because Nash, you had 12-0. Travis, you had 11-1. I'm curious to see what the 12-0 people and the 11-1 people are still feeling because, when I was trying to think through all my predictions and stuff, I'm thinking, okay, if 12-0 and 11-1 is on the table, that means Quinn Ewers is clearly elevated his game. Like he's gotten a lot better, and he's going to be a big driving force for why the team is 12-0, 11-1. And what I saw is it's kind of the same guy. He was good on the short stuff. He was good on the intermediate stuff. I thought he was pretty good on that stuff last year. I've always liked his touch in those areas, but the combination of, the deep balls continuing to struggle added with the interior offensive line struggling, that's a bad combination. I mean, those were the two things we were talking about looking for coming into the game. And if the interior offensive line is going to struggle, it's hard to keep your composure and have really good footwork when you've got interior pressure in your face. And those aren't Quinn's strengths to start with. I mean, keeping composure in the pocket, throwing in the pressure with really good footwork.
Nobody keeps composure when there's pressure up the middle. Nobody.
Yeah. There were some plays. I was rewatching it. I mean, there were some plays where I just felt like he was panicking for no reason. There were some plays where he was panicking for good reason. And, there was nothing he could do. There were some plays I just felt like he was always a little antsy. So, I don't know. We're going to get into this. I want to get Nash's thoughts too. But overall, Big 12 championship with this team, yes, I still think I don't think he's bad. I don't think they should replace him. I don't think anything like that. But if I was thinking 12-0 going into the game, which I wasn't, I would be concerned just because I don't know. Nash, what are your thoughts? I'm curious because you did have him 12-0 before the year.
I did, but honestly, I'm not that shaken on it, and it has the reason why is because really it was never hinging on Quinn Ewers to begin with. And what I mean by that is so Quinn Ewers, I can feel the eye roll right there. But,
well, no, it's not that. You don't like 12-0. You don't think was hinging on Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, well, because the main reason is outside of Alabama, I really suspect. It's going to be hot. Like if our defense plays to what they're capable of playing week in and week out, which they should. I mean, it's time to it's time to be big boys. Time to play football and be consistent. And if they can keep doing what they're capable of doing, I mean, they should have never had 3 points early in the beginning. They should have never had that at the end. I know there's the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but at the end of the day, this is a defense that's going to be able to. They're going to be able to. You want to be able to say what I'm about to say for Texas or for the quarterback position. But this is a defense that's going to keep Texas in games, no matter what happens. And I honestly probably would have been shaken from my confidence had I not seen TCU just go out there and lay an egg, Baylor go lay an egg, Texas Tech lay an egg. It's just there was a lot that it didn't give me confidence in other teams. If I were to be one of their fans, I wouldn't be really happy right now. And Texas, this defense is legit. And if there was one area that I was concerned about was linebacker and the edge. And the edge, we need Burt to get home, to finish just a little bit more. But the linebackers, they did enough for me. And as long as Quinn Ewers can just operate the offense week in and week out, he doesn't have to be Captain America. He doesn't have to be a Heisman contender. Just be efficient. Don't turn over the football, and be the reason why we're not losing games.
All right, that's fair. And by the way, you're not shaken. Neither is James. He says some Crimson Tide pelts are going to be hung on the wall this Saturday. So clearly he's still on board. I had the Horns going 11-1, but honestly, that kind of was. I'm a little shaken in that, and I hear you, Nash. Just be a game manager is what you're saying, really. if Quinn can just manage the game, not turn over the ball like he did Saturday, he was no interceptions, no turnovers, very good. That's a great thing, right? Then the defense is going to help you win some games, and you just need to get the ball out to some of these playmakers like Ewers, like Worthy and JT Sanders, who Sanders had a hell of a game Saturday, by the way. Had one touchdown, should have had another, if not for
it was the guy that was
Whittington running the route.
Whittington.
Yeah, Whittington running the route right into the same area. That felt like a broken route because there's no way Sark's scheming that to be where the two guys end up in the same place. So I hear you. My issue is the same problems we saw last year were on display again in week 1. And yeah, listen, I'm talking about the deep ball. Immediately following the Washington game in the Alamo Bowl, Sark said, this is an area of concern. We've got to get it fixed. We're going to work all offseason on it. Spring ball, we're worked all spring. We've worked throughout the spring game. The deep ball is a big area of concern. Summer, we're working on the deep ball. That's the issue. We got to get the deep ball. And what did we see week 1? We saw a quarterback who's throwing off his back foot in some cases. Even when his feet were planted, he still had his, like this play in particular. Now, thank you for popping this up. This is one of those instances where I initially said the pass rush was getting to him, but Aaron correctly pointed out the dude was still 3 yards away. He's got to step into this throw. This is one of those underthrown deep balls where if you look how far away that pass rush is,
but look at the clock.
Quinn's got to get in there and step into the throw. You can't
but you got to look at the clock. Look at how far we were into the game. This is where I started to have the same takeaways, but I realized Quinn Ewers at that point, it had that might have been his 15th pressure at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, I'm not I had an interaction with somebody on Twitter. I was saying, look, I can understand why I'm not giving an excuse, but I can understand why Quinn would start to flail away at that point.
But that was one play.
And we saw a lot last
one
year,
of those deep balls was underthrown.
Well, I don't know. Here's the deal. As somebody that's gone through meticulously through, and I did it recently right before the season.
Yeah.
I saw Quinn this is I can't get behind this. And I'll be fair. I'll jump on the criticism. I was one of the people leading the train of Quinn had literally completed we had a game against Alabama, or that was the first deep ball over 25 yards. And this is my issue with deep balls on PFF is they do 20 yards, and anything over 20 yards is a deep ball, and it skews the data. If you go to 25 and plus, well, then it gets really bad. He only had 2 completions all year, one versus Alabama, and then it was 2 for 34 on the year. And then the last one was it was comically the very last play where Casey Kane catches the ball, and the play doesn't mean anything. So at the end of the day, all it was, hey, you've now completed your second deep ball of the season.
All right, but that carried over to this year. And I knew we were going to have this conversation because I watched your cut up on YouTube, which, by the way, guys, if you don't follow Nash, you need to, because he goes through and does these cut ups of every game condensed. He goes through and he does individual players and condenses them. He did every deep ball that Quinn did during the Rice game into one cut up. And so I watched it right before the start of the show. So I knew we were going to have this conversation, but the fact, and yes, there were some instances where it could have been better, but on the straight go routes, I'm just talking the straight go routes where the receiver is down the sideline, heading out, they were underthrown. Or there was one where he was trying to hit Worthy and Worthy caught it out of bounds.
That was the worst one.
Ewers, instead of throwing inside, he threw it outside and forced him out of bounds. I mean, that's a concern. These deep balls are still an issue. And the reason I'm harping on it, the reason I think the reason I do think it is a concern beyond just, hey, maybe that's not his game, is that's a big part of Sark's offense.
Yep.
You need the deep balls to connect, to open up the middle passing game. You need that to connect, to open up the run game. You need that to connect, to keep the safeties from cheating down. If you're not hitting those, and we saw that last year, if you're not hitting those, then the defense doesn't have to stay honest to them. And that is a big, big part of Sark's offense. That opens up those deep crossing middles. So once you get the safeties starting to play back a little bit, you can have guys crossing in front of them, hitting them in stride and in motion, and those break for big gains. I mean, he did that a lot at Alabama. But that only happens, the run game only excels when you have the deep ball. And right now, Ewers has not shown at all that he can hit it, especially consistently. I'm not even asking for consistently hitting it. He's not showing he can hit it, period. It's a concern. I mean, I don't know.
Like, see, I was just saying, like, I was going to say last season, it was time and time again that he's standing in the pocket and he's taking a hit. So the criticism that he doesn't stand in there and take hits, I can't get behind that. And then he had also taken hits in this game multiple times up before that point. So, like,
and we're going to
understand why he would start to flail away. But I think the ultimate issue with the deep ball, and the reason why it's a complete, like, because to me it's one of these things that's like mystifying. Like, you literally, like, it's hard to understand because you'd think that he would eventually luck into one.
Yeah.
And so my thought is I think ultimately it just comes down to he's relying too much on, like, if you remember the Oklahoma game last year, he had that throwaway. People thought it might have hit the wire in the sky or anything like that. No, the reality is he was just on his back foot and he was relying too much on this elite arm talent that he has. He has one of the best arms that you could ever put on a quarterback. And about the only way you can get it better is if your name is Malik Murphy. But
I was about to say,
but I think he was relying far too much on that arm talent, and that's why that ball starts to hang up and starts to die, and it can start to duck a little bit.
But he's relying on that arm talent because his footwork sucks. And he supposedly spent all offseason working on his footwork, but he's still hopping into the pass. He's not keeping his feet planted. He's not stepping into the throw, not just when the pressure's there. He throws off his back foot a lot. His footwork is really crappy at times. It's just, and for someone who's supposedly working on it like they did, there were no fruits of that labor showing on Saturday. It just wasn't there. So that's why I say, look, this was a concern last year. It was the number one area of concern for Sark, per his words, that they were working on. Going back to the Alamo Bowl, he's like, we got to get this fixed. It's not fixed. So for the 11-1 crowd like me, 12-0 crowd like Nash, I don't know how you come out of this game feeling super great that this is a team that's ready to compete for a national championship or playoffs. Maybe the Big 12, because I'm not sold on the Big 12, but
yeah, I mean, I do think they can, like Nash was saying, like, if he can just take care of the ball and be a game manager and, like, make the plays he's supposed to make, which I think Quinn Ewers can do, then, you get into the schedule and, you can still maybe run the slate. But my issue with that is defenses are going to adjust, like Travis was talking about. They're going to bring guys into the box. They're going to force you to hit the deep ball. And I'm just worried if the offense isn't explosive, eventually you're just going to end up in a lot of close games. And if you end up in enough close games, a couple aren't going to go your way. So that's my concern with that. I think if you were going 12-0, 11-1, you were kind of banking on mostly like blowouts because the defense is elite and then the offense is pretty electric with big plays down the field. I just think if he is going to be more of a game manager and this offense isn't going to be that explosive down the field, you're going to invite a lot of close games. Even if, some of the Big 12 teams look terrible this weekend, they're not going to look that bad every single weekend. And teams are going to get up for Texas like they always do. I'm just worried that's going to invite, close games. And then a couple of those might not go your way. That would be
if you're in a one-score game, what was Texas's record in a one-score game last year? I haven't looked it up. It wasn't very good. And you're right. If you're going to be a game manager with a good defense, you're going to see a lot of one-score games, and you cannot,
And I mean,
then
To
it's
be
the
fair,
bounce
I'm
of
the
the ball.
last person that should be breaking down the film of a quarterback, but I just didn't see the issues with his form and mechanics outside of the deep ball. And I think that honestly shows in the accuracy. Like if you look outside of the deep ball, he was an extremely accurate quarterback. And then this is kind of where I'm at with this is literally if he hits 2 deep balls, 1 or 2, we talk about his performance completely different. I mean, this is a guy that was this close. Like he was 2 drops. He was a Jonathan Brooks drop, likely touchdown, and a Jatavian Sanders drop from a 6 touchdown day. I just like it's. I get there were struggles. I get it's Rice, but I'm trying. At the end of the day, I'm trying not to overreact to this.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fair. I mean we'll learn a lot more. There are some people in the chat saying he's not going to just take these body blows against Rice. I don't know if I'm going to buy that. Like I still would like to see him because I didn't like. I agree with Nash. Like he's willing to take hits. He doesn't shy away from every.
Well, I
single
felt like
hit.
he did it early in the game too.
Yeah,
is
he
my
takes
thing.
hits,
And not all of those underthrows were as a result of pressure.
Correct. It's a lot of it's just him not leading the receiver enough. Yeah, I mean if he hits the deep ball, it's a different conversation. But that's a big part of it. Yeah,
Like, honestly,
nuts.
I felt like last season some of that was his reaction time. He still didn't know the offense well enough, so he wasn't getting the ball out quick enough. So his reaction times were a little slow last year. I don't think that was the issue today. It was Saturday. I think he's getting the ball out quick enough now. He's knowing where he needs to go with the ball quick enough. His on the deep throws, his footwork was atrocious. I'm kind of with you, Nash, on the rest of it. I thought he looked pretty good.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Well, and here's the deal: for all the people, like Aaron said, he kind of alluded to it a little bit, but a lot of people are saying, we need to stop taking the deep shots, stop doing it. No, this is like, I don't think people understand how little 4 deep shots is a very small amount in a Steve Sarkisian offense when you consider like the amount of plays that happen in a game and what that does to the defense for Steve Sarkisian's offense. It's something that has to happen. And honestly, like I'm going to say, if you're a defensive coordinator right now, like this isn't a secret. Texas has it's like I said, it's a mystifying level of struggle with the deep ball. I mean, we're now dating back to last year with Quinn Ewers. We're between 2-35 and 2-40 on the deep ball, which is not like that is far than less than ideal. And I think at this point, if what you're going to start to see, unless we start to hit deep shots, you're going to start to see defensive coordinators bring defenders down to the box and say, "Hey, we are literally daring you to complete one of these things."
Yeah, I don't think giving up on the deep ball is an option. I mean, they're not going to have that option.
No. That's too. It's too big a part of Sark's game.
It's too big of football. It's literally a part of football.
You're neutering this offense if you give up on the deep ball.
No, I mean they're going to keep throwing the deep ball, and they're going to have to because the defenses are going to adjust and they are going to come up. It's just he's going to have to hit him eventually, and then that's basically what it comes down to because the other parts of the run game, they might not be able to establish a run and pound the run with this interior offensive line. You don't have Bijan, you don't have Roshan. They're going to have to sling it. And yeah, I mean, I don't think giving up on the deep ball is an option. They're going to have to keep throwing it. And they're just going to have to get better at it.
You know what? JD Hack checks in. It's a win. I get all the factors. It's overreaction Monday. LOL. First game of the season. We can still upset Alabama. Yeah, JD. You know what? Maybe this is a bit of overreaction. Maybe we're nitpicking. This is still a team that put up a lot of points Saturday, not as much as they should have. 37-10 is only, they didn't cover. They were 35-point favorites. So maybe we're nitpicking here, and we will get to some positives. I promise you, we're not just going to be negative Nancy's. But before we get to the positives, which almost entirely center around the defense, except for, Xavier Worthy and Jatavian Sanders as well, there are some positives, and we'll get to them. But we've got to address the other big elephant in the room, and that is the run game specifically. And we alluded to this during the Quinn talk. The interior offensive line did not look good. And this offensive line gave up 2 sacks 8 tackles for loss. They struggled with stunts and blitzes up the middle. It was an issue. And it kind of showed itself a little bit in the running game. The running game wasn't horrible. I don't want to make this out to be like, as a team, there was 158 yards rushing, 4.1 per carry. Not bad. All right. It's not bad, but they struggled in the first half, especially with the run game. And I don't want to say, oh, they got their act together in the second half. I think a lot of that had to do with the heat on Saturday and the fact that Rice isn't very big. They don't have a lot of depth. Those guys got worn out and worn down as the game went on. So, of course, you're going to get a better run game at that point because it's harder to play defense than it is offense. You're reacting more on defense. You're chasing more on defense than the offense. So you're going to get worn out more on defense than offense. So it got better in the second half, but I don't know how much of that was because of skill and how much of that was the heat. This is another big issue that, look, we talked about it going into the game. Rice averaged 277 pounds for their defensive line. Bama's bigger and badder and better. There's not a single Rice defensive lineman who's going to crack the 2 deep at Bama. How concerned on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you, Nash, about this run game?
The run game, honestly, not as much because I think at the end of the day, you can still – I think you have enough in the tackles to be able to cop out and do some outside run, just really scheme some things open. And also with Stark's motion, there's a lot of ways that you can go about, be creative about it. But where I think the interior offensive line is really going to I think, and this comes to Quinn Ewers. This is one of my big issues with Quinn Ewers from the game is it was the pressure to sack ratio. 37.5% of their pressures ended up resulting in a sack. And it was really just 3 out of 10, but it's still 30% of the pressures. That's somebody mentioned in a group chat that we were talking about. I forget the exact name of the person, but it's one of the Texas YouTubers. And they were saying, Quinn Ewers, and I think it might be Fanatic Perspective, but they're talking about how Quinn Ewers is the guy. He's not the guy that's going to be able to avoid the interior offensive line pressure. He's not the guy that, like you saw, he lacked the lateral quickness to be able to get out of that sack on the play where, if you know, and this is one of the things that I like to see was I saw he had the ability to kill the play and get into a new play. And I like that. That's one of the next steps in his games that we need to see. But we need to see that play be successful. And that was a 3-man rush on a 5-man front. Yeah. So that's got to change. But I think he's more of a Mac Jones than a Bryce Young. Like a Mac Jones, I don't think is going to have the. And I'm not saying he's exactly Mac Jones, but I'm saying I don't think he has the same year Mac Jones without that offensive line that he has at Alabama, giving him like a legit wall in front of him. And that's kind of what I think Quinn is going to need more this year. So there's where a lot of my concerns are, but yeah. Interior offensive line's got to pick it up, man.
So 1 to 10, how concerned are you about the interior offensive line in the running game? Give me a number.
Interior offensive line specifically is 7. Both of them combined to 5.
All right, Aaron, you?
I'm probably on a 7 as a whole with those two combined, just because I think it's so important. Because the entire offense obviously operates out of the shotgun, and it's hard to run out of the shotgun in general. It's really hard to run out of the shotgun when your guards and your center are consistently getting pushed back. And they were getting consistently pushed back against Rice, which means, unless, those guys are going to improve quite a bit, it's, you can expect them to get pushed back a little bit against other teams throughout the rest of the year. So it's just going to be tough. You don't have, I thought the running backs themselves, I thought they all showed some really good flashes. Like Baxter getting the start out of the gate, I thought that was pretty meaningful. That means he's shown quite a bit in camp, and I thought he looked really good. The run that he got injured on was a great run. He showed a lot of really good patience, and he hit the hole pretty hard. He was decisive once he waited and found the hole, which I think is what you have to do. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have that kind of Le'Veon Bell style of running if you're going to, have kind of a shaky offensive line. But, I thought Jonathan Brooks had some moments. I think we're going to talk about Jaden Blue a little later. The running backs themselves, I think they're good players, but I'm concerned overall because, to set up those deep balls and to make life easier on Quinn Ewers, you want to be able to run the ball consistently. And I just don't know if you can run the ball consistently out of the shotgun when your guards and your center are getting pushed back and they're not, creating consistent running lanes.
Well, and I should add this. I think that like the reason why I dropped when I combined those 2 to 5 is because you got Cedric Baxter, who's still healthy. Like he's come back to practice, and that's a massive thing. And I think when you talk about running in between the tackles and running right into that hellhole of an interior offensive line right now for a running back, it's right now for me. I want Baxter and Blue carrying the ball if we're going to be doing that.
Brooks wasn't horrible.
No, he's not. But I've been one of the biggest Brooks truthers out there, and I've been consistent in saying that he's not like he's a guy that's bigger in person. He just lacks the size to be able to go and be a plus effective runner in between the tackles, doing those short yardage gains and red zone rushes. Like that's an area where having Baxter and Blue, and really Blue, we didn't know that. I didn't know he was going to be able to do the hard stuff. I knew he's a fast guy, has hands, all that stuff. He's going to be able to do all the fun stuff. But to be able to, and not to say that Brooks can't, absorb contact and go through contact balance. Contact balance is one of Brooks' best attributes. But Blue's ability to fight through contact and just really push, go, wow, you didn't get tackled there. Cool. That's something I think has a little edge over Brooks.
By the way, Charlie checking in, the referees let 3 blatant pass interference calls go. Yeah, actually, that's something which there were several plays where I hate being a conspiracy theory guy. There were several plays though where the referees made very questionable calls, and that's something I'm going to plan to track in my column throughout the year. So if you're not a member of Orangebloods.com, you definitely need to sign up, guys.
To be truthful, if you consider those pass interference calls that should have been called, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying this is what the case is, right? But because Quinn Ewers missed on the deep ball, it is what it is. But that's the throw. If you got a guy, right, that he's ahead, especially the second one that was missed later in the day. If you remember, it was in the end zone. That's the one where quarterbacks are literally taught to throw that ball like that so that they come back in.
Yeah, I know
into
that.
The defensive
but
back.
That's not what happened there.
Yeah, no, I know it's not what happened, but I'm saying there is a world where you could go, hey, that's exactly what Quinn Ewers was doing, and he was trying to do it.
Yeah, I get it, but that's not what happened. And those PIs wouldn't have happened had the ball been thrown better, frankly. I mean, that's just what, there's just no way those get called. They're hitting them in stride, and it's a touchdown, not an underthrow, which leads to pass interference. But again, we nitpicked the offense enough. Let's get to the good stuff, right? Let's get to the defense. Those guys played their absolute tails off, and they were led by T'Vondre Sweat, who had the best game of his career that I remember. The interior defensive line, period. Yeah, look, we came into this week saying one of the big questions was how much of the hype in camp was about the defensive line dominating, how much of that was the defensive line, and how much of it was inability of the offensive line. And frankly, it looks like it's both. It's just coming out of week 1. The defensive line absolutely destroyed Rice. And I know it's Rice, but I don't think that's going to change throughout the season. They looked good today. Aaron, what were you seeing out of the defense? What struck your fancy Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, the practice reports, you hit on it. They seem to be accurate that the defensive line was just kind of dominating, and then we'll see about the interior offensive line in the game. But, I mean, T'Vondre Sweat, he was everywhere. I thought they were good against the run. I thought the secondary held up well. Obviously, it was Rice. But, I think it's going to be a great year for the defense, honestly, because I don't think teams are going to be able to establish a run against that Texas defensive front. And, I think they're going to be forced to pass. I think they're going to be forced into 2nd and 8. They're going to be forced into 3rd and 7. And I think Texas has the pass rushers to disrupt in those downs. I think the secondary will hold up in those scenarios. So, honestly, I came away, we'll learn a lot more this next week like we will with everything. But I think it's going to be a strong year for the defense overall. I felt that before the season. And then, the defensive line may be even better than I thought it would be. I think it was a strong performance from the defense. And even if you say, it's against Rice, I think there was a lot of standout plays and guys just winning quickly. And there was good communication in the secondary for the most parts where I think the defense is going to be awesome. And I think the defense will absolutely keep them in games and avoid them from getting blown out pretty much in any game on the schedule.
Nash, I opened this show today asking the question, is Quinn good enough to win a championship? I'm going to pose the same question to you about the defense, but ratchet it up a notch. Is this a college football playoff level defense?
Yeah. It's just
right.
Here's the deal. It's if they're consistent, because what we saw last year was and this is my thing. I think I even talked about it last week, is we saw this versus Alabama. We saw it versus TCU. If you just consistently play to that level, that's a defense that can actually go play in a national championship game and hold their own. And it's just to literally, if you actually were to go and look at just take the logo off the team and go look at Georgia's game in the national championship and go look at Texas' game versus TCU. The box scores are almost indistinguishable. And I know that's just box score scouting and all that stuff, but it just it's a good defense. It is a very good defense, and the fact that they showed what they did, the cornerbacks look great. Defensive line, I think I'm not sure if y'all can correct me if I didn't, but I think I shouted out Broughton as one of my players to, hey, this is a guy that you may not be thinking about, but yeah, you should be thinking about him, because he could be a guy at the end of the year that, hey, we might need to get this guy coming back if we can at all have it happen. There was a play where he was side by side next to Sweat, and they were literally talking about Sweat. They were saying, look at the swim, Brock was doing the Brock's clicker thing, and he was saying, look at this swim move and breaking down the swim. Literally at the exact same time, it was it's almost like art. It's like a play. It's a beautiful play where you actually see Vernon Broughton is doing the exact same move at the exact same time, and it's just they look simultaneous. It's like synchronized swimming, but on the defensive line, and it's just that defensive line, if that interior can do their job like they did, 1.08 yards per rush is I don't care if it's Rice, I don't care if it's I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the high school team down the road. That's a good performance.
Yeah, it was a very good performance. And we're going to go through this kind of quickly, but let's each pick an underrated star from the game. I'm going to start with Malik Murphy. The freshman cornerback played a lot. He had 5 tackles in the game, second best on the team. All 5 of them solo. He had a pass breakup. He was in the game. We've heard a lot about him coming in throughout the fall camp, that he was a stud, that he was making plays. He showed out on Saturday. He was there in the game, and he was there early. This wasn't just one of those, he got some mop-up time and really shined. He was there early in the game against, the ones with Rice and playing with the ones with Texas. I thought he was definitely one of my most underrated stars of the game, in a game where, by the way, a lot of true freshmen really looked good. Nash, who was your underrated star?
I'll get to my your underrated star. He had the most snaps of any cornerback in the game, too.
Yeah,
and tied for 5th in most snaps. But
yeah,
I'm going with the guy that had the most snaps, and that guy is David Benda. I think this is a guy that a lot of people, I think a lot of us were starting to hey, Anthony Hill, we're going to need him to step up. We're going to need some of these freshmen to step up, and we started to write him off. I mean, me included. I'll throw my name right in the hat. But David Benda, he looks like a guy that, and I mentioned it before. He sacrifices freshman year, so he's one of these guys that he's a really easy guy to love. He's got a great team attitude that you want, but he just seems like a really cerebral player.
Yeah.
Like there was not sure if I mentioned on the live or before when we were talking before the show started, but there was a play where he got burned. It looked like he had a pass responsibility. I'm not sure if it was because of what he said in what I'm about to say is he had a little interview thing after the game where he was talking about, hey, how'd you get this sack on the play where he just blazed in through and got the sack? Well, he was saying, I saw before they left my designation just wide open and I had a free lane to the quarterback. And I told myself if I get that ever again, I'm going to just go. Next play happens, gets it, goes. That's the stuff that you want to see. Don't make a mistake in the two.
He was fantastic, and he puts in. He had an interview with the press earlier during the camp where he talked about all the work he's put in. David Benda is who led the team in tackles. Who was your underrated star, Aaron?
Yeah, I thought Ethan Burke looked pretty good off the edge. He had 4 tackles. He had 1.5 sacks. He was winning pretty consistently. He was just making a consistent impact on most of the snaps that he was on the field. I think he's going to be a good guy out there on the edge. Baron Sorrell, Anthony Hill working in, to complement the interior defensive line. If the interior defensive line is going to be that dominant, you're going to have to devote more resources, and you're going to have one-on-one opportunities with tackles. And Ethan Burke showing that he might be a guy that can win those matchups. And he was a guy that got some hype preseason. So to see him go out there and deliver on a big game, I was pretty excited about what Ethan Burke did against Rice.
A very workmanlike game from Ethan Burke.
Well, he was close to having another one too. At the
I
end.
know. I'm referencing Sark talked about praising his work ethic earlier this year, and how I joked that that's doesn't sound.
I wasn't harping on you. I was just saying like what Aaron said. Yeah, this is.
I'm just saying I thought he showed out very well on Saturday. He was definitely an underrated star. But you know what? Look, we're going to move on from Rice because again. Aaron, what week is it?
It's Bama week. It is Bama
Damn
week.
Skippy. It's Bama week, folks. And by the way, Saturday, if you're going to be at home watching Bama, if you're going to Bama to watch the game, kudos to you. That's going to be an incredible trip. But if you're like most of us and you're going to watch the game from home, make sure you're stocked up with everything you need for your football watching game day. And the best way to do that is through Specs. They've got all the finest alcohol that you could possibly want, as well as other drinks. Any kind of drink you want, really. Specs has got it, along with some great food items. I mean, underrated aspect of Specs is the food. Be sure to check out Specs. Get ready for game day. I promise you, it'll be worth it.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right, fellas. Like I said, we're going to move on from Rice. The game's over. We're moving on. But you know what? There were a lot of other games this weekend. This for the first full week of college football, week 1 delivered big time. Now, before we check in on some of the exciting games, we do have to note Alabama defeated Middle Tennessee State 56-7. And starting quarterback Jalen Milroe had 5 touchdowns, with 3 passing, 2 rushing. First Bama quarterback in history to do that. Look, it's Middle Tennessee State, but they didn't look like they struggled this Saturday at all.
No, they did exactly what we were hoping to do.
Exactly. They did exactly. Their game finished. Thank you. I swear I was going to say that. They played the game that Texas fans were hoping Texas would have. Aaron, did you get to see any highlights or check out the game at all or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I checked out both. I was checking in during the game. I checked out the highlights afterwards. Milroe, he's going to be a problem on the ground because we talked about the Texas run defense. So I think it's going to be strong, but when the quarterback's running, you get that extra blocker. The Alabama offensive line, it's going to be solid. They look solid on the ground. they look solid on the ground because you can add in Milrow and you get that numbers advantage. And he was able to complete some passes down the field. It was Middle Tennessee State, so Bama's Bama. I didn't expect them to look bad, and they didn't. So those are kind of my main takeaways. But yeah, I mean Milrow, he looked solid. He did what he was supposed to do.
We're going to talk a lot more Bama this week. Every day this week, we're talking Bama, including tomorrow, by the way, guys. We've got our SEC Tuesday coming up tomorrow. And on Wednesday, we've got the beat reporter for Alabama from The Athletic, Kennington. Kennington, whatever his last name is, I'm brain farting right now. He'll be on the show. I promise you, Kennington, I'll remember your last name at that point. But there were a lot of other big games this weekend, including last night's FSU 45, LSU 24. Jordan Travis getting started with his Heisman campaign, 23 of 31, 342 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 running, and 1 interception. I was looking at it, and he's getting a lot of hype. They beat LSU. That is a fantastic win for FSU. That has a lot of implications for the playoffs moving forward. But that stat line, 23 of 31, 342 yards, that's the kind of stat line I think we were hoping Quinn would have. And instead it was Jordan Travis turning it. And Quinn wasn't that far off, I should note. Quinn had 30 attempts, 19 of 30, as opposed to 23 of 31. So it's not like there's that big a discrepancy. And if he hits on some of those deep balls, 342 was within his range. What did y'all think about FSU, though? Is this a college football playoff team? Nash?
I think that they certainly are a team that can go for the college football playoff, 100%. What I liked from FSU was their ability to change mid-game into something that worked, because they went from fighting against LSU, and we're right in there. Like we're possibly going to win this game. So I don't know, like you can't say like, hey, there's nothing's working. We got to scrap it all, right? We're got to scramble to figure something out. Like stuff was working, it just wasn't working all the time. And it could be very easy for a coach to say, you know what, I'm just going to hammer my head in there and we're going to will our way through this, right? But they said, you know what, we're going to change the approach. We're going to start running the ball. Up until like there was I forget what exact drive it was, but I was looking at I wanted to see like that was like, man, it feels like they're starting to run the ball a lot more. The announcers are calling out too, and the splits, it was a night and day difference. I mean, they ran the ball like maybe 30% of the time, and up to this the third to last drive or something like that, and then after that drive, it was just like run. We'll throw some passes in there, but we're going to over 50% run the ball. And that worked versus LSU.
Kudos to Mike Norvell for the in-game adjustments, but probably the coach of the day on Saturday, Coach Prime. Colorado in the big noon game, 45-42 over TCU. None of us saw that coming. None of us picked TCU. All of us picked TCU to win. Look, I've been hyped on Coach Prime. I really have. I think he's a good coach. I think he's underrated. I think people sell him way short. If you're discounting what that guy can do, you do so at your own peril. But Aaron, 45-42, not just covering the spread. They came into town and beat the team that played for the national championship last year. What did you see out of Colorado?
Where are you guys? I mean, this might just be a personal thing for me. Where are you guys at with Coach Prime? Like they said on the broadcast like 100 times, just saying it out loud, it seems dumb to me. And that might be because I never saw this guy play football. So I wasn't watching football when he was prime time doing his thing on the field. So it could be different for people that actually saw him and they grew up with him. But it sounded, I don't like Coach Prime. It just sounds.
Clearly you're not aware of anything that happened in the world prior to your 10th birthday or so.
I know who he is. This isn't a John Wayne or whatever situation, but I know who he is. I know he's really good. I know he's
John Wick,
prime time. I know he's prime time, but I don't know. Just as someone that didn't actually not actually invested in this guy or his nickname, that I don't like the whole Coach Prime thing.
What's funny is that was my wife's hot take as well. She was like, "Why did they call him Coach Prime?" And I had to explain. Prime Time was his nickname, and he, now he's Coach Prime. I'm embracing it. I love it. I think it shows the swagger that is Coach Prime. I mean, he is nothing if not swagger. And by the way, that team played with swagger. Shedeur Sanders, I mentioned Jordan Travis as a Heisman-worthy. Shedeur Sanders had a Heisman-worthy game. If he keeps that up all season, he's going to be in the discussion. I promise you. That was an incredible performance from him. That was an incredible performance from Travis Hunter. Colorado, they looked legit. And I'm not a big TCU guy this season. So I'm not trying to say Colorado's going to win Pac-12. I don't think they're that good, but they looked very good. And I think they're going to be the favorites coming into Nebraska.
Yeah. Travis Hunter was the guy I wanted to talk about because, 114 snaps, or 144 snaps, sorry. That doesn't happen. He had 11 catches, 119 yards. He had a great interception where he just made a phenomenal read on the ball that was floating in the air. Played lockdown corner for the rest of the game. I think he's legitimately going to be in the conversation for the Heisman because
absolutely,
it's a narrative award and people are going to it's been a long time since we've seen an electric two-way player in college football. So he's going to, have the constant media attention and he's going to get all the love on Twitter. He's, Coach Prime is going to hype him up quite a bit. But I think Travis Hunter, I think that was my main takeaway. It was just man, it's it felt like Shohei Ohtani, but college football. It was something else.
It's funny that you say that. I stole Travis, you stole mine. I was literally going to say this is it's fun getting to watch it. Because it's something that you if you're a baseball fan, right? And the no hitters, it's just that's something that you felt was gone, right? Complete games. You thought complete games were gone. And then here comes this Japanese dude. It's you know what? I'm not only going to be the best hitter, but I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be such a valuable pitcher. They're going to let me throw full games, complete games. Now, maybe that didn't, pan out so well with the injury and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm glad we got to see it, and hopefully we get to see it again. But Travis Hunter, there may have been some guys that could have done this since then, but this is the first guy that I feel has a legit shot to do a two-way thing since Charles Woodson. And it's just it's fun to get to watch. There's no better coach that you could want than having so this is where I'm gonna say it, Coach Prime, but there's nobody you'd ever want. If you're a defensive back that wants to play two ways, no better coach to have than Deion Sanders.
All right, guys, we got to get through two more games pretty quickly here as we're running out of time. The first, Texas State 42, Baylor 31. The Bears going down week one to Texas State. First time Texas State has ever beaten a Power 5 team, ever. Big time win for Texas State. Either of you have a hot take on that game?
No, it's just we're nitpicking Texas this morning. Could have woken up a Baylor fan when you rolled in to your home stadium as 27.5-point favorites and walk out with an 11-point loss. That's a little bit of a different story.
I do remember a couple of years ago when Texas Tech almost lost to Texas State, and it was oh my God, is this going to happen? And then it actually happened versus Baylor. Only way it could have been a little bit worse for Baylor is if it was the Sam Houston State Bearcats.
Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was Texas State. So, and by the way, you mentioned Texas State, Texas Tech, which leads me to the last game of the weekend that we're going to talk about. Wyoming 35, Texas Tech 33. Brett Yormark had to hate to see that.
It was a bad weekend for Brett. It was just a bad weekend overall. Texas, kind of rolled Rice. Oklahoma completely rolled. And then you got TCU, you got Texas Tech, you got Baylor going down. The quarterback for Wyoming in double overtime on fourth down, the play to extend the game and basically win it. What an incredible play. But the fact that Texas Tech was in Wyoming week one, that was funny in the first place. And then the fact that they walked out of there with a loss. even funnier, there was a lot of preseason hype for Tech, so that was a great result.
Well, and it's the whole Wyoming thing. The funniest thing is I think a lot of fans, like I've seen a lot of fans go, "Oh, we can't." I actually think that them playing so well against Texas Tech did us a favor, because now like it's if Sark loses to Wyoming, right? Like I'd rather be Texas Tech than us, but like there's at this point now that they've done that Texas Tech, there's no catching off guard.
You know what? We're going to talk a lot more Wyoming in week 3, but that's week 3. This is week 2. It's Bama week. Like I mentioned, guys, tomorrow is SEC Tuesday right here on the channel. We have Chris Gordy from the Locked On SEC podcast joining us for the show tomorrow. Make sure you tune in for that. There's going to be a lot of Bama talk, and we'll check out what else is going on in the new league for Texas as of next season. No longer will Texas have to deal with Texas Tech or Baylor or TCU or any other thing. So we're gonna look ahead with our SEC Tuesday. Like I said, Wednesday we've got the Bama beat writer from The Athletic coming on the show. All of this is made possible because of Elite Sports memorabilia. One more time, look, if you want good Longhorn gear, and I mean damn good Longhorn gear, signed by the players, authenticated, ready to ship directly to your home, scan that QR code. He's got everybody on the roster you could possibly want. Well, not everybody, but he's got a roster full of Longhorns ready to go.
He's got Devondre Sweat.
Sweat is in the house. He's got Ewers. I mean, he's got Xavier Worthy gear still available. If you want some good quality gear, helmets, jerseys, Funkos, whatever you want, he's got it. It makes a great gift for friends, family. Might as well start shopping for Christmas early. Yeah, that's right. Nash pointing to the wall where Isaiah Mayer is up there, which he bought straight through Elite Sports memorabilia. It's a great way to get a little something for yourself. I mean, you want to support the Horns, show it off to the world. Elite Sports memorabilia is the way to go. And one final thought. We said on Friday's show, if you wanted to help out Quinn Ewers, you wanted to help out the Horns, really get a little extra oomph and cover the spread, to hit the like button. Not enough of you did it. So if you're not happy with the way the Rice game turned out, it's on you. You didn't put it out into the world. You have to hit that like button. So do it today, because you owe us. You owe Texas. Frankly, you let them down. That karma comes, that energy from hitting that like button goes out into the world and creates and manifests new things, right? I mean, why not? I don't know. But you should hit the like button anyway if you like the show. If you're looking forward to tomorrow's show, make sure you hit the like button then too.
Just comment down below after the video too.
And comment on the below on the video. We asked you to put in your score predictions for Rice. Nobody nailed it. Nobody
got it right. We did have some score predictions, so thank you guys for putting those in. Did. Leave those comments throughout every single show. Thoughts, what did you think about Quinn Ewers? What is your concern for the running game? Predictions versus Bama. Leave it all in the comments.
Who's your underrated star for the Texas versus Rice game? Who did you think was underrated? I had Malik Muhammad. We had David Benda. We had Aaron. I'm forgetting
Ethan Burke. Yep.
Ethan Burke. Did we miss out on somebody? Put it in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hey, stick around. It's Labor Day, which means we're working. We've got a full lineup of shows on the channel today, coming up with Anwar, followed by House Divided, followed by Football with Friends with Alex Dunlap. You can get your fill. If you're not working today, you may as well tune in and just stay on OB Live all day long. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.